Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 227 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Tony Moore. He's a lifelong musician who's done a lot of different things that we'll dive into, and we'll dive into what he's currently working on. But we're really happy to have Tony on the podcast. We've been planning this for a little while. We got it in the works now. So Tony, how's it going?
It's great, Alice. It's great to speak to you. 227 podcasts. Congratulations. That's stamina and willpower. Well done.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I read a statistic once that said most podcasts fail within the first 10 episodes. So I guess
Okay, well,
okay.
you must be successful then.
So why don't we go back, when you were younger. I mean, what made you want to be a musician? What made you want to pursue music as your career?
Yeah, well, it's I grew up in a very creative household. So my father was a classical pianist and a trained tenor. So back in his day, the 50s, 60s, his voice was like a Mario Lanza of the day or something, or not quite a Tom Jones. He wasn't really into the pop stuff. He's into the classical stuff. He was a fantastic pianist and a great sight reader. So I grew up listening to all of the wonderful classical pieces by Rachmaninoff and Mozart and Chopin and all these incredible piano pieces. And my mum was a ballet dancer, so she'd be dancing around the room like a nutcase. And I they sent me to piano lessons. I just wasn't very good. I could never read the music. It made no sense to me. I used to memorize the music. It trained my ear more than anything else. And I'd play the music as if I was reading it, and they'd catch me out every time I rapped my knuckles. And then from that, I thought, if I create a piece of music, no one can say that it's wrong because it's my creation. It's how I wish it to be. So I kind of started composing little musical pieces from about 11 or 12 years. And probably when I was about 13 and 14, started turning them into songs. That was kind of the genesis of it. I didn't know that I wanted. Well, it's weird. Yes, I did want to be a musician. I wanted to be like all my heroes at the time, which was Genesis and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and Elton John and Alice Cooper. I wanted to be like that. Had no idea how I was going to do that or what the journey would be. So in my heart, that's what I aspired to be. And I think academically, I was pretty shit. I failed in most subjects. Although my school, I went there recently and met up with them again, and they're very proud of me. The headmaster now is a heavy metal fan. So he was very excited to meet me. It was quite touching.
Yeah, and maybe if you would have been a complete A student, it would have led you down a different path, and you wouldn't have ended up leading the music life.
I think it's quite possible. Yeah. If I suddenly found that that I was academically gifted in mathematics and geography and algebra and stuff, I might have ended up starting in that field and then ended up caught in that trap, right? But for me, it was always music. Even when I was at school, I'd be drawing guitars, little Les Pauls and Fender Stratocasters in the back of my school books and writing little lyric ideas.
Well, you sure have had a unique career in music. You've toured with lots of the great bands. You've written with
Yep.
wonderful artists, and
Yep.
early in your career, you were a member of a band that's now rose to legendary status in the metal world. At the time, they weren't super well known, and you weren't with them for an incredibly long time, but you were with Iron Maiden for some of the early stages of the band.
Yes, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I have the advert. I will send it to you. But basically, I'm going to have to give away my age now, unfortunately. But in 1977, I grew up in Bristol, which is in the West Country. It's about 2 hours from London. But I knew that if I wanted to have a career, I needed to move to London. So I was trying to find a reason to come to London. And I was looking at adverts in the back of a music magazine, and I saw an advert for this band and looking for a keyboard player with a synth. And that's exactly what I had at the time. I'd made some money, saved it up, bought a little synth and a keyboard. So I drove to London, did the audition. They offered me the gig and I moved to London. And that was Iron Maiden before anyone had ever heard of them. And I stayed with them. It's hard to remember exactly, 6, 9 months maybe. And we did one gig at the end of that time. and it felt to me like keyboards was not the right thing for that band. I the band was great, and Steve Harris, who's the bass player and the founder, those who know their Iron Maiden history will know who Steve Harris is. He always had a very strong vision, and although he didn't say it in these chunks, over the time that I spent with him, I distilled down everything into these three things. First of all, Iron Maiden were going to be the cutting edge of new British rock music, which they were. We were going to have a stage show as big as Genesis, which they do, and we'd be one of the most famous bands in the world, which they are. You know, his vision was laser like and still is. We're great friends today. We lost touch for many years, but reconnected. And I see him all the time, and been touring with him for the last 2 years with my show. So I am very blessed, Alex, to wake up every day to do the thing that I love and to be afforded the opportunities to take my music to the world. You know, and as we talk, your listeners will understand as I reveal all the different things that I've done. I've done a lot in this world, and yet many people still don't know my name, and that's not a problem. You know, my journey was never to seek fame, although recognition is important in order to financially be able to keep moving forward and raising my game. But really, success is the ability to do the thing that you love, right? Whatever it is, a racing car driver, stocks and investment, uh, architect, whatever world you embrace, if you are successful enough to do the thing that you love and be able to survive and people to know who you are for it, then you and me are very blessed.
Right. I mean, that's what everyone dreams, right? Everyone's got something that they want to be able to do every single day, and if you can't sustain it, you can't hold that dream up. So, I mean,
Yeah,
you might not be, people use they say, "Oh, Tony Moore," like they recognize Bon Jovi or some, rock
exactly.
star's name, but you've still made a career out of music for your entire
Absolutely.
life. You've worked with
Although
wonderful
I'm trying
musicians.
to change that last bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to change that last bit so people know my name as well as John Bon Jovi. But that's the mission now. Yeah. So
Right.
Iron Maiden, and in fact, I'm doing a show on the same bill with Iron Maiden. They're doing a festival. They've created their own festival. For anyone who knows Iron Maiden, they know their mascot is Eddie, the big skull-like creature, and they've got 2 days of music taking place just outside London. There you go. That's the well done. It's called Edfest, and that's July the 10th and July the 11th this year. That's their only show in the UK, and I've been invited to join the bill, so I'll be performing on that bill. So my life stays fairly intertwined with Iron Maiden one way or another, even to this day.
Yeah. When you were no longer with the band, I mean, did you follow their music all throughout their success in the
Yeah,
late, 70s, 80s and whatnot?
absolutely. I went to nearly every gig and tour I could when it was convenient for me. So I've seen most of the tours, and even though sometimes I arranged it through the record label or through people outside of the band, and Steve didn't know that I was there. We talked later, many years later, when we reconnected, and he said, "Tony, I can't believe it. You came to all these shows, and I didn't even know you were there." And but I was always, first of all, I was always very proud of the little part that I played in their journey and the story of Iron Maiden. It's quite an honor to be part of such an iconic and historic band as they are. And secondly, they always had a great show, always, even from day one. And this current tour that they're doing, which is the 50th anniversary tour, I've seen it quite a few times. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen by any band. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got great stuff. Legends in the metal, pioneers in the metal world, just
Absolutely, yeah.
phenomenal stuff. But you ended up having some success in the 80s with a group that had a smash global hit, The Cutting
Yep.
Crew, and most people know the song I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight, which, like I said, global hit. It's one of those 80s songs that everybody knows. It's an iconic 80s song. So how did you get associated with The Cutting Crew
Well,
to begin
so
with?
so basically, after I left Iron Maiden, I joined a band with Brian James. He'd been the guitarist and the songwriter for a British punk band called The Damned. Damned are still going. Sadly, Brian has passed away now, but in the 70s, they beat the Sex Pistols to it by having the first singles released as a British punk band. And we formed this band called Tans de Youth, which lasted for about a year or so. When that band split up, I joined another band called England, which was like a progressive rock band. At the heart of the music that I love is a lot of progressive rock music, like Genesis and, like I said, Pink Floyd, and and Yes. These bands were a massive influence on me as a young boy, and so the opportunity to join a band where everyone felt the same and that we could try and create that very British kind of progressive rock was fun. And in that band was a bass player called Colin Farley. So after a few years, the band finally broke up and we went our separate ways. And Colin joined Cutting Crew. And I remember I got a phone call from him. He said, "I'm in this band and we need a keyboard player, Tony. Are you up for it?" And I went, "Sure." So I joined Cutting Crew. And of course, Died in Your Arms was a massive worldwide hit. I think number one in certainly 13, maybe 15 countries, I think, around the world. And in 1987, exactly 10 years after I joined Maiden, I was touring with the Cutting Crew, and we were opening for Starship when We Built This City on Rock and Roll had just been a number one. And we toured with the Bangles, who are a fantastic band. We did shows with Huey Lewis and the News. I mean, we did some amazing stuff. And we did some of our own headline tours. And we toured all through around America, Canada, Japan, Taiwan, Europe. And they were great days. I mean, to be in a band with a hit record and on tour is an exciting thing, I have to tell you.
Yeah. Did you guys know that it was going to be hit? I know sometimes musicians have songs that they personally like that maybe aren't as big of a hit, and they have other songs that they
Well,
just know are going to be successful.
yeah, I think it's hard to say really. Because there's something about the song that it's an outlier. It doesn't sound like anything else. And for that reason, I think it was both a blessing and a curse. As a blessing, it's still played today. It probably gets more airplay now than it did in the 80s around the world, right? So people know the song. But because it was so different from the rest of the material, it was very hard to get a follow-up single. We released a number of songs, including Been in Love Before, which is a beautiful song, and even did Been in Love Before live on the Johnny Carson show, as the Tonight Show was back in the day. But nothing could quite match the success of Died in Your Arms. And the curse of that is that many people don't know that Cutting Crew was the band behind it. I often talk to people, I mention the song, and they go, "Oh, was that Foreigner?" Or was that Men Without Hats? Or, no, it was Cutting Crew. Oh, okay. But I know the song, right? So it was a dual-edged sword. The song was written by Nick, who was the singer in the band. And Nick is still doing Cutting Crew shows. He's got a younger band. Actually, the band he has now has probably been together longer than the original lineup was. But and of course, as you know, there's enormous interest in 80s music these days. There's lots of 80s festivals and 80s nights and 80s tours. So Nick and his band get involved with all of that. I left all that behind me because it was time for me to do my things, which I've been working on for quite a few years. But I'm proud of the success I was involved with there, and really, they were magical days, magical.
Yeah, exciting part of your life, great memories, great experiences. I mean, but like you said, it's all right. You gotta want to be able to do your own thing, which
Yeah.
you have been here for a while since lockdown and when you
Yes.
started your own show, started writing music. We can dive into you've got a one-man show called Awake. So why don't you
Yes.
start with the inspiration for that during lockdown?
Well, basically, when the lockdown began, my mother, who I'd moved to London from Bristol about 5 years earlier, sadly developed quite bad dementia, and she became bedridden. So I moved into the house. It was about 5 miles from my flat. I moved into her house so I could look after her and be her carer. Obviously, I had other carers that came in and did some of the messy stuff, but just to kind of be there for her. And there was a big shed in the back garden, so I had all my gear in the shed. And I always say, if someone gave me the choice of only being able to do one thing in my life, because I'm quite multitasking. I run a venue, I book music, I put on gigs, I do all kinds of stuff. But if I had to say the one thing that I would do, it would just be to make music. That's the one thing that I would put above everything else is for the importance in my life. And so bizarrely, when everything was taken away from me, the venue that I was booking music in was shut because we weren't allowed to be open. I had no other avenues of work. The only thing I could do was make music then. So I wrote a piece of music that was mainly instrumental until about 4 minutes in when I thought I should add some vocals. I did a live stream of me playing it on Facebook where I had the backing track playing and some green screen with some funny stuff behind me, and I played the guitar part. And I got so many thousands of positive messages and people loving it and encouraging me. And most people know me as a keyboard player, so I had a lot of people didn't realize I even played guitar like that, kind of lots of lead guitar. So I thought, wow, that encouraged me. I'm a great believer in encouragement in life. If you see somebody doing something where you can encourage them, you should always do it, because sometimes it's just one little phrase of encouragement that changes a whole perspective in somebody's mindset about what they're capable of doing. You know, you see someone playing a little guitar thing in the corner of a bar, nobody notices them, but they've done it really well. And you go, mate, that was really great. You should keep doing that. You're fantastic. You never know how that will inspire them to move forward. So I was inspired, and I just thought this track feels like it's the opening track of an album that hasn't been written yet. So I set myself the challenge of writing the album to go with the track. And I had no rules except that I wanted it to be a concept album in feel. So if it should feel like there's a journey through the music. And secondly, that I can do whatever I want. So as each song finished, I tried to sense what the mood was if I was a listener, and where I can take that mood in a different direction or extend it or change it completely to create something that feels very visceral, something very immersive, even just for the music. And so I came up with this concept album. It's 17 tracks long. It's called Awake. And I'd already reconnected with Steve Harris from Maiden at this point. So every time I finished, and I was writing a song, recording it, producing it, mixing it, finding video to go with it because I knew this had to be a live show, and then went to the next song. So the album was written chronologically, and as I was writing each song, I'd send them to Steve. And he'd just come back with super positive responses like, this is brilliant. You just need to make the guitar solo longer. Or, I love this. Put more orchestra in it, or stuff like that. And so he's technically the executive producer of Awake because he heard every song before anybody else ever heard it and kind of gave me his input. So when I would go back and mix it, I could put more orchestra or make the guitar solo longer or whatever. And when I finished it, we were still in lockdown, but we were slowly coming out of it. So I started planning to do some shows. There's a venue called the Bedford in Balham, which is a pub and a live music venue that I've been curating the music at now for 23 years. So I just created a monthly show for me to do there, partly for me to polish it and present it and get a feeling for it. We did a couple of weeks of rehearsals, and it was quite interesting because it's a one-man show. I had no one to work with. It was the lockdown, right? So there was only me. So I had to be very creative about what I did with the video and what I did with the music to make it not feel like there's only one person there, even though there's only one person there. So when you see the show, it does become quite immersive, and there's more of me than you expect in the show. And but I suddenly found things like playing an acoustic guitar and putting it down and going over and sitting down at the piano. There wasn't enough time to do it. So I'd have to go back and write extra little pieces of music for the live show that were like a bridge between one section and another section that just gave me some breathing space to get myself in position for the next part of the album. But it was a fascinating and fabulous process. And in a weird way, for me, the lockdown was the best thing ever because I got to spend time with my mum every single day and tell her she's the best mum in the world and that I love her. And I got time to make music and create an album, which I've now been touring for 3 years. So for me, despite the dark aspects of what happened during the lockdown, for me personally, it allowed me to be very creative.
Yeah, there definitely were those positive aspects. I mean, like you said, there were a lot of dark times, a lot of bad things that happened during lockdown and COVID and everything. But I know for a lot of musicians and creative people, writers, being at home, it gave you more time to focus on your craft. Maybe when everything wasn't locked down and you had a busy
Yeah,
life and all this other stuff going on, you didn't have all that time that you could focus on your
absolutely.
creative work.
Yeah, no, I'm for that. I'm forever grateful. And now I have a show. So actually, one of the things that Steve said to me after I finished the album was, did I want to come out and support his other band, British Lion? So, for those of you who don't know, when Steve isn't playing with Iron Maiden, he has another band called British Lion, who aren't quite as well known as Iron Maiden, but do smaller clubs like five, six, seven, 800 people. And he asked me if I wanted to be the opening act when they did their next tour. I'd never done the show live. I had no idea how I was even going to do it live. When I said yes, I would do that. So I developed the show a little bit at the Bedford, and then I had to work out, how do I take this on the road? For instance, there's a video with every song. So I realized that I couldn't rely on every venue to have a projector or a video wall. I had to be self-contained. So I found an ultra short throw projector. There's quite a few of them out there, but I found there was a particular brand made by Hitachi, second-hand ones on eBay that I could get for 100 quid or 200 pounds, and it would sit on the stage behind me, right in front of the screen. So I didn't need to mount anything on lighting trusses. I didn't have to put anything on a stand in the middle of the audience that would be dangerous or could get knocked over. I could actually just put it on the stage behind me, and nobody would even know it was there, and I could do my show. So I had to deal with a lot of technical challenges and creative challenges in putting the show together. But now I have a show, has lots of different variations. I can take it on tour almost at the drop of a hat anywhere. Even if I travel abroad, which I did with Steve, and we went to Australia and Japan and North and South America, I managed to managed to shrink it down to two suitcases. One case had the projector, the screen, a mini keyboard, a spare guitar, and my stage clothes. The other case was my guitar case with all my pedals, and then I had all my clothes in a backpack and a laptop case that ran the show. So I realized that I can be very mobile with this show as I need to. And if a venue has a video wall, even better. I've done some festivals with giant video walls in it, and it scales from very small to massive. It still seems to have the same effect.
So you do everything on your own. You do the setup, the show, the takedown, all of it, all on your own.
Well, when I do shows with Steve, there's a little crew of people around that help me set things up and take it down. Partly because I'm the opening act and we need to get me off stage quickly
Right.
so that the British Line can start. And when I go on the road in the UK, I take with me a sound engineer and I pay
Okay.
him to do the sound and to help me set up and break down. And he's usually breaking stuff down whilst I'm selling merch and signing CDs at the back.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'd imagine it would be very difficult to do the setup, the show, the takedown all by yourself. You got to have
Yeah,
one
it's
other
not,
person at
yeah,
least.
it's not impossible, but I choose not to because it's just a little bit too much strain and stress, and I can't relax. There's no point to relax then. It's just non-stop from one second to the next.
Yeah. I never knew the popularity of one-man shows. You're the second musician that I've talked to. I don't know if you're familiar with Richard Strange. He was a actor and musician in the UK,
Yes.
and he had a one-man show. I had him on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
It's been a while ago, but he talked about a one-man show that he had did where he went from club to club in different venues, and now talking to you, I wonder if it's more of a popular thing over in the UK. I don't see as many of them in the States, or maybe I
Yeah,
just am not in the right area for them.
I think one man show kind of covers a multitude of sins. For me, one man show, when you see it, it feels like you've seen a whole band because I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm playing lead guitar and acoustic guitar and piano. And, one of the secrets is that within the video, within the creation of the video and the imagery, when I'm playing the piano and there's a guitar solo, I will appear on the screen playing the guitar solo. There's lots of clever ways that I've integrated myself into the show on many levels. So it's a very unique one man show because, first of all, it's about my life. And it's about my world. It's about my experiences. So there's no one has a show quite like this because they'd have to be me to put it together. Plus, it focuses on all my musical strengths, which, it's a lifetime of learning to play the piano and keyboards and guitars and to amalgamate them into one thing. So it's quite a unique show in the presentation. It's a unique show in the music. It's a real journey. People do laugh, they cry, they dance. We have an amazing time. Because it's a little bit about my mum's dementia as well. And there's some songs that I wrote for in the show. Dementia is the thing that touches many people in this world, and I often have some very heavily tattooed rock fans in the front row with tears in their eyes because they'll tell me afterwards their granddad or their grandmother had dementia, and they understand the struggle. But it's a very vulnerable show. And if people want to listen to the music, it's all online. I mean, I'd love you to buy a CD. You need to either come to a concert or go to a website called burningshed.com where you can buy the CD. But it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon. My YouTube site is Tony Moore Music. There's lots of videos up there. So you can find and experience a lot of the show, but it's not the same as seeing it, I tell you. Whereabouts are you based, Alex, again?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I drove past Michigan. I did some shows last year after Iron Maiden. I did one in Seattle, and I drove from Seattle to Milwaukee. That's a long drive.
Oh yeah, you were right next door.
Yes. Went to a lot of Rockies. I went around Chicago, and then we went up to Detroit, and then into Canada. I never knew that Detroit and Canada are neighbors like that. I know they were close,
Yeah.
but you go down a tunnel and you pop up the other side, you're in Canada.
Yeah.
Mad.
So are you do you still tweak the show or do you have it kind of polished to the way you like it now?
Well, every now and then, something in the show I might update slightly. Maybe because it's a bit of footage I've been using a long time that I think there's something better. Or sometimes there's a little, because within the show, there's a little bit of social commentary about what's going on in the world. So sometimes I reflect a little bit of things that I'm thinking and feeling. You know, my show isn't meant to, at the heart of it, my show is about entertainment. I want people to go away feeling entertained, having had a great night, and understanding that love is the message. But within that, there's some certain crazy shit that goes on in this world that I like to I point out a little bit, but not so much that you would go, "Oh, that show's so political." It's not heavily political in that sense, but I don't shy away from talking about some things like, right now there's a big worry about digital ID. I don't know if you're experiencing that in the States, but there was, the UK government wants to introduce this concept of digital ID, which is scary because as soon as you have digital ID, they'll tie it to your bank, they'll tie it to your passport, they'll tie it to your driving license. They'll, and if they so choose that they think there's too many meat eaters in the world, they'll limit the amount of meat that you can buy, for example. No, I'm not saying these things will happen, but these things can easily happen once there's a digital ID. So it's important that we think about these things and not just go, it's convenient, because often convenience comes at a price, right? As a loss of freedom and a loss of privacy comes convenience, as we've seen with things like Facebook. Facebook is not free. We are the product, right? Facebook harvests our details and sells it to people who want to sell us things, right?
Right.
So the fact that we get to use it for free doesn't mean that it's really free. It just means that we are allowing them to use our data, and we can't even stop it, to then try and sell us shit that we might have mentioned once. I'm sure you
Right.
found that, you might talk about, I don't know, shower gel, and suddenly you get adverts for Irish Moss shower gel everywhere popping
Hmm.
up.
Oh yeah, it's very scary when you think about it.
Yeah.
The technology. I mean, technology's got a lot of benefits, but like you said, you don't want it to be too controlling your lives. I know people worry
Yes,
about that
exactly.
with AI, different things, and
Well,
yeah,
the whole point of the phrase awake is just be awake, be aware, be alert.
yeah,
I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not trying to tell people
right.
what they should do. Everyone should be free to make their own decisions and follow their own heart, but at least be aware.
No, I think everything you're saying is true. It's good to make people aware of things and then people can form their own thoughts and to, like you said, to be
Yes,
awake. I mean that can mean a lot of different things in life. And
yes, of course.
music can invoke a lot of emotions. That's why we listen to it. We want to feel sad, we want to feel happy, we want to feel excited. If we're angry, whatever we're feeling, you can find
Yes.
music, and like you said, your show will invoke all kinds of different emotions in people.
Yes,
And
absolutely. I mean, whoever's listening and watching this podcast, hello, it's Tony Moore here. Do come and see my show. You'll love it. Awakemusic.info is the official website, or tonymoremusic.com is my personal website. And on Instagram, it's just Tony Moore. So like me, follow me, share me. I'm bringing the show, I'm trying to bring it to the States at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm going to do Michigan. I've got two shows in Canada in September, and I'm doing shows the day before Iron Maiden do shows in the big cities. So Iron Maiden are playing on the 29th of August in Toronto. So I'm doing a show on the 28th, and they're playing on the 3rd of September in Montreal. So I'm doing a show on the 2nd of September, and I'm trying to bring the show down into New Jersey and the Boston area to pick up some shows down there. But I will be back, as they say, as Arnold says.
yeah. Yeah, please, everybody that's listening, go check out Tony's stuff. And if you have an opportunity to see him, go see him, follow him on all of his socials, listen to his music, share with everybody you can. Tony, I
Thank you,
appreciate
Alex.
you coming on the show and sharing your musical journey, sharing Awake, and hopefully
Oh,
we get some more followers for you and some more people to appreciate it and
thank you.
spread it around.
Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to invite me to be part of it. You know, you're doing a good thing. 227 podcasts, very, very big deal. Congratulations. That's a
Thank you.
lot of interviews.
Yeah, I love it. I love conversations. I love meeting people. I love sharing ideas and talking about things. I mean, it's really enjoyable for me as it is try. I think it's important to share stories and ideas and accomplishments and all kinds of different stuff. I think it's really
Yeah.
important.
Well, and you ask good questions, which is great. So
Thanks.
I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you. And
Thank you.
there's still a lot to talk about. So maybe you should plan a part two at some point in the future.
Yeah, we
Maybe
should definitely.
maybe when people know a bit more about the show,
Right.
we
Yeah,
can
maybe when
revisit it.
you come back to the States or something, we
There you
can,
go.
or when you're closer to then, we can plan a part two for sure. Appreciate it,
Okay.
Tony.
All right, Alex. Well, look, you take good care. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much. Good luck with the rest of your podcast. I hope you make it up to 500 quickly, and I'm
Yeah,
sure you
thank
will.
you. Yeah, good luck
All
with
right.
everything with Awake.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.